Anthony Williams, the charismatic founder of Coffee Haven, strolled into the bustling Denver branch with a sly smile and a heavy dose of secrecy. He wore casual clothes, a neatly trimmed beard darker than his usual shade, and thick-rimmed glasses. Nobody here would guess this mild-mannered new hire was the CEO they had all heard about. He was on a mission. Recent financial reports from this particular location showed bizarre fluctuations in inventory and sales. Bags of premium beans, midnight roast, and honey hazelnut vanished inexplicably, and profits sometimes dipped without any logical explanation. An anonymous email to corporate hinted at an employee skimming off supplies to run a personal business. Anthony wasn't one to rely on rumors. He preferred cold, hard evidence, which was exactly why he'd gone undercover. Standing behind the espresso bar, Anthony introduced himself as Tony Carter, a grad student who needed flexible hours. The store manager, Dana Norris, a trusted longtime employee, was the only person who knew his real identity. She'd been anxious about the store's recent inventory losses, but had no solid proof. Her voice trembled as she whispered a reminder when he arrived. "Tony, if anything seems off, let me know right away." "I will," Anthony promised, nodding firmly. On his first day, Anthony met the team. Noah Peterson, a chatterbox juggling two jobs and perpetually brimming with jokes. Evelyn Yang, an expert barista whose stunning latte art drew Instagram-happy customers. Juan Alvarez, the shift leader, polite but somewhat guarded, focusing on the store's procedures. Melissa Jennings, a friendly barista in her mid-20s, brimming with ambition. She often talked about launching a startup project. They were polite and courteous, but Anthony noticed one thing. The moment he mentioned extra hours or asked how the store managed its high-end coffee blends, Melissa's eyes flickered with caution. She never looked overtly guilty, just a bit too careful. Anthony was far from clueless about coffee making. After all, he'd built Coffee Haven from the ground up. But he played the role of a fumbling newbie, letting the baristas teach him how to work the espresso machines and froth milk. During slow times, Anthony explored the cramped storage room, where premium beans were stacked. He discovered open, half-empty boxes of the expensive blends. The official inventory logs didn't match what was actually on the shelves. He also noticed fresh shipping labels indicating recent arrivals of midnight roast and honey hazelnut, far more than a store of this size should need. Yet the stock was mysteriously low. After closing one night, he asked Dana, "How thorough is the nightly inventory check?" Dana sighed. "We do a basic check at the end of each shift, but lately we've had bigger discrepancies. Melissa often volunteers to stay late for final inventory counts, especially on Thursdays and Fridays." The mention of Melissa's late shifts piqued Anthony's curiosity. Thursday and Friday nights coincided with the times new shipments often arrived, and it also lined up with a suspicious pattern of missing goods. "Keep this between us," Anthony said softly. "I'll watch her closely." That Friday, Anthony conveniently stayed after closing under the pretense of learning the ropes. Sure enough, Melissa volunteered to finish up, rummaging in the storage room while everyone else left. Anthony pretended to scrub down the counters but discreetly peeked through a crack in the door. What he saw nearly made his jaw drop. Under the dim light, Melissa removed a large tote from her locker. Quickly, she filled it with two unopened bags of midnight roast and a smaller box of honey hazelnut pods. She acted like she'd done this 100 times before, scanning the area for witnesses, then sealing the tote. Anthony's heart pounded. He wanted to confront her right then, but he held back. He needed ironclad evidence, not a confrontation that could be dismissed as hearsay. So he slipped away, sending Dana a quick text that he was heading home. But instead, he lurked in the parking lot, hidden inside his rental car. Around 30 minutes later, Melissa emerged, shivering in the cool Denver night, the tote tucked under her arm. She loaded it into the trunk of a battered sedan, then drove off. Anthony followed at a discreet distance, adrenaline surging. He trailed her through winding streets to a nondescript building in an industrial zone. A small sign out front read, "Wake and Wonder Roastery." Anthony parked around the corner, stealthily creeping up to a side window. Flickers of light and the hum of machinery came from inside. Through the glass, he saw something that made his pulse race. a mini coffee roasting setup, complete with a commercial-grade roaster, packaging station, and printed bags labeled with the Wake and Wonder logo. Inside, Melissa emptied Coffee Haven's premium beans into the roaster. She worked with startling efficiency, then repackaged them in Wake and Wonder bags. This wasn't a simple side gig. She was running a full-blown enterprise, stealing from one of the region's most respected coffee chains to power her brand. Anthony stepped away, fists clenched. He had all the evidence he needed, but he wasn't about to barge into a strange warehouse alone. Instead, he returned to his car, heart hammering. By morning, he'd figure out the best way to confront her without causing a chaotic scene or endangering himself. When Anthony told Dana about his late-night discovery, her face went ashen. "I'd never have guessed Melissa would go that far," she whispered. "She always seems so eager, so engaged with customers." "She's also ambitious," Anthony said grimly. "Ambition can be dangerous when it overshadows ethics." Together, they planned a staff meeting under the guise of a routine company update. The goal: gather everyone, then quietly pull Melissa aside and confront her. They had to handle it delicately. Any blow-up could harm morale and risk a PR nightmare if word spread beyond the store. At noon the next day, Dana called everyone into the lounge. The staff looked mildly curious, some sipping coffee cups or checking phones. Anthony stood at the back, arms folded. Melissa smiled politely, though a flicker of unease crossed her face. Donna began with some small talk. She mentioned a new seasonal latte, the importance of accurate inventory records, and the store's mission to deliver the best coffee experience. Then her voice grew serious. "Before we wrap up, I have a final announcement. Our new hire, Tony Carter, has something to share." All eyes turned to Anthony, who stepped forward and removed his glasses. "My name isn't Tony Carter," he said, letting the weight of the moment hang in the air. "I'm Anthony Williams, the founder and CEO of Coffee Haven." A collective gasp rippled through the team. Noah nearly spilled his coffee. Evelyn's eyes went wide and Juan looked stunned. Melissa's face went pale. "I came here undercover," Anthony continued, voice steady but firm. "We've had a serious issue with missing premium coffee beans. An anonymous tip suggested someone was abusing company resources. Unfortunately, I have evidence that implicates one of our own." He locked eyes with Melissa, who dropped her gaze. "Everyone else is excused for now. Melissa, Dana, and I need a word in private." The staff shuffled out, throwing puzzled, anxious glances behind them. When the room was empty, Melissa took a shaky breath. "This must be some kind of misunderstanding." "I followed you last night," Anthony cut in calmly. "I watched you load stolen beans into your car and re-roast them under your own brand, Wake and Wonder. I have a record of everything. Do you deny it?" Tears pooled in Melissa's eyes. I just wanted to start my own coffee brand. It was too expensive to buy beans on my own, so I borrowed from the store. At first it was just a few bags, then more and more people loved my blends. I couldn't keep up with demand." Dana folded her arms, hurt brimming in her expression. "You stole. This is fraud, Melissa. You've been lying to us and damaging our reputation." "I didn't mean for it to spiral. I swear I plan to pay it back." Melissa's voice cracked. "I'm sorry, I was desperate." Anthony inhaled slowly, choosing his words. "Ordinarily, I'd have you fired on the spot and possibly arrested for theft. But I believe in second chances if the person is truly remorseful." Melissa's eyes widened with a mixture of hope and dread. "Please, Mr. Williams, I'll do anything." Dana exchanged a glance with Anthony, then nodded. "Here's the deal. You shut down your side operation immediately. You will reimburse Coffee Haven for the stolen supplies, plus any profit you made from them. You'll be on probation, one more slip, and we involve the authorities." Melissa wiped away tears. "I understand. I'll shut down Wake and Wonder and pay back every dime." "Good," Anthony said, not unkindly. "You can rebuild your brand later, ethically. Buy your own beans, get the right permits. This is your last shot." She nodded fervently, words tumbling out. "Thank you for not ruining my entire future." Anthony's voice softened. "You nearly ruined it yourself. Don't waste this second chance." Melissa was temporarily suspended for the weekend to get her finances in order. Meanwhile, Anthony gathered the rest of the staff for a final reveal. This time, he ditched the disguise entirely, letting them see the confident CEO behind the humble barista facade. "Everyone," he began, "I want to thank you for training me, teaching me the barista basics, and welcoming me when you thought I was just another hire. Coffee Haven thrives because of team members like you." Evelyn ventured a shy smile. "We're just shocked you were in disguise this whole time." Noah shook his head in awe. "Dude, that's insane. I can't believe I didn't recognize you from the corporate newsletters." Anthony chuckled. "I've changed a bit since those photos, but I'm proud of how most of you handled yourselves. Sometimes I do these undercover visits to see our real culture, the good and the bad. This store has a strong team, aside from recent problems." Juan crossed his arms. "What happens to Melissa?" Donna stepped forward. "She's facing disciplinary actions for serious misconduct. We can't discuss details, but we want you to know that we're putting stricter inventory checks in place. If any of you notice suspicious activity, speak up. Coffee Haven belongs to all of us, and we need to protect its reputation." The staff exchanged glances, some relieved, others troubled by the revelation that theft had occurred right under their noses. A few days later, Melissa returned for a tense meeting with Anthony and Dana. She presented a repayment plan. She'd borrowed money from family, canceled her roaster's lease, and was willing to work under close supervision. Though trust would be slow to rebuild, Anthony believed in redemption. "I can't promise it'll be easy," he told her. "Your coworkers might resent you for a while." She nodded, eyes filled with regret. "I understand. I'll do whatever it takes." Dana gave her a small, encouraging smile. "We appreciate that. This is your chance to prove you can do better." Throughout the following weeks, Melissa worked diligently, staying away from closing shifts for a while. Gradually, the tension eased. The staff focused on perfecting their drinks, hosting latte art contests for customers, and rebuilding morale. Anthony quietly slipped back to corporate, but not without leaving a final message. "Thank you all for your dedication. Keep the spirit of Coffee Haven alive. Warmth, honesty, and community. I might drop by again, perhaps unannounced, to see how things are going. In the meantime, let's move forward stronger than before."